BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. In today's episode, I interview Amy Smith. She is part of Evo Sports Collective and is responsible as the Director of Social Change, Equity, and Inclusion. Amy is about the power of community, overcoming challenges, and the significance of embracing one's own journey. Amy is also a pioneer in sports, as she's a staunch advocate against harassment in women's professional football, and she shares her story of resilience and empowerment throughout our conversation. This discussion navigates through the importance of community support, facing harassment, and toxic culture in sports and corporate environments. We also touch on the transformative impact that mentorship has on our lives. Amy and I delve into the practical advice on meditation, instilling strong values in our next generation, and the concept of expansion and inclusion through our professional endeavors.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Kollman Gearhart, a former athlete and motivational coach. I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
As an exciting collaboration with the BTB Project and Evo Sports Collective, it's just an honor to bring who I believe is a true pioneer to sports and social justice. Even from her early days as playing Little League or, a fearless stance against harassment and professional women's football, she's seen a lot. And it just brings me a tremendous honor today to walk through her journey, to speak to women all over the world, and to show the power of community as we are partnering together. I would like to welcome Miss Amy Smith to the BTB Project. Welcome.
Oh, thanks so much, Kollman. It's an honor of mine to be here with you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. And you and I have been able to cross paths a few times now as we have collaborated. We were talking about this before we hopped on, some of the struggles that we have as human beings when we try to do things on our own. When I just say the word community and thinking of you, Amy Smith, what does community mean to you?
For me, it's that CO word, the community, the collaboration, the cooperation. It's all of that in embodied form of whoever it is and whatever it is around you. And I often think of Mr. Rogers' mom who told him to look for the helpers, right? And I love that. I love that idea. It's like, so if we embrace the helpers that are inherently in our lives, whether we recognize them as that or not, I feel like we are much stronger together. And it's one of my favorite t-shirts, strong alone, unstoppable together. And that's a Nike ad. And it rings true. So for me, that's community. It's like, there's nothing that we can't do.
Yeah. And I've certainly noticed that too with team sports that I've been involved in. And obviously you're familiar with my tennis background, but what really resonated with me when we connected was your background with women's football and rugby. And I just remember coming across rugby on a very interesting whim. I had a coach in high school that was a pseudo teacher and rugby coach who pulled me aside and said, "Man, you got like the greatest frame to be a prop in rugby." And then I got involved with that, and rugby was really an interesting moment for me to embrace community because I was super uncertain on what that sport was going to be like. And it's a very challenging sport nonetheless. So when we're coinciding community into some of your athletic journey, I'd love for you to share about how you got into some of these contact sports that you've been a part of.
Yeah, it's always an interesting journey, each one of us. And it similarly with rugby, it was a whim as well. I was found myself at Penn State and curious, really. But I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania. Football is very popular. Some of my first memories are picking up a ball in any shape or form, whether it's a baseball, basketball, football. And so that's always been appealing. And I have a natural gift for athletics. And it's like, why not? Give this a go. And I've always been such a, and when you're in it at the time, or at least for me, you don't really recognize that community team aspect. You take it for granted or you become a little bit complicit in it. And for me now, looking back, and especially in different teams now, talking about team as team and community, it's like, yeah. And it's really such a interesting transition going from team sports to maybe working out alone or whatever that looks like.
Right.
And that's where I find that in that reflection and in the comparison almost that I really find that, I don't know, embracing that community sense in a different way, wherever I feel is around me and is accessible to me. And going on that journey of playing whatever ball sports, throw me a ball, I'm in, and kind of thing. And it's like being able to go through those the complexities. So you alluded to rugby being a really interesting sport, and it is. Going from playing when I was 20 at Penn State to 30 in the golf was a very different experience, a different sense of team. So you're not in a college party anymore with that aspect. And then playing in a golf, I was the only American. So my teammates were mostly British with a couple Canadians and Australians. And that was cool in itself. But to bring it back into that team aspect, it was such a different experience because of many factors and the circumstances and the environment. But one of my favorite things was just learning about different people's stories and backgrounds and cultures and what it meant to be a group of individuals together. And I
Right.
thought that that was so enriching. And I find that in team sports, even watching it today.
That's so well said, and I think that community piece, I was so glad that we were able to walk through that because the power of having someone alongside you, I talked about it with some of the uncertainties that I felt pursuing another sport. And then even in my tennis career, yes, it's an individual sport, but in college, I had 5, 6 guys around me helping me out in a very unsure moment in some of the matches that I was playing. But to hear you feeling that same collaboration, that same support, I think you would accredit to any success you had in sports. It helps to have someone there alongside you. But you have a really interesting background, Amy, because it's not just about competing for you. You've had the opportunity to not only tap into the passions of athletics, but to also give back as an educator, as a coach, as a mentor. And it's always fascinating to me because being 20 years into coaching and knowing what I've done as a player, what's been more fulfilling for you, lifting the trophy or lifting someone up because of your mentorship?
Absolutely would have to say lifting other people up. The trophies, I'm glad I have them. I still have them. They're in a box.
Sure.
But being able to help people really find themselves and being able to get in touch with that empowerment. When you see that light come on and that spark that's engaged and then having someone, and I'm sure you relate to this as well. It's like when people start to believe in themselves and to really step into their fullest expression and their fullest power, there's very few things that can be greater than that because you just see this light emanating from a soul that's been waiting to emerge.
In today's day and age, I'm primarily working with high school kids. I just noticed this additional weight and pressure. I'm approaching a high school girls tennis season here in Colorado, and I have a young lady that is a dual sport athlete. She plays soccer, is a great athlete, has lineage of tennis from her family
Mm.
because her cousin actually won a state championship at the high school that she plays at. So it's definitely in her blood, but I kind of wanted to walk through this and get your opinion on it because I'm sure you've come across people that have been in the same situation as she had a really tough tryout experience a couple years ago in soccer. And
Mm.
she left the tryout feeling dejected that she's not good enough. She didn't make the team that she wanted to make. One of the things that happened when I started helping her was we started to talk about the tennis tryout. And instead of leaving her in a situation to where she was not going to know what to expect in the tryout, I started to paint the picture of what it will look like, what the scenario she could be facing, some of the opponents she's going to be facing, what some of the other coaches are going to be thinking about the situation. And from there, it turns into a situation where she ends up getting really emotional with me. And the reason why she's getting emotional is as I was painting the scenario, it tapped into what she experienced before. With that said, I know that as we coach and mentor and help others, it uncovers and surfaces a lot of uncertainty or self doubt in people that we're trying to help.
Mm.
When you are reaching out and extending a hand to help somebody, hearing that kind of framework of story, what are some of the ways that you're able to allow people to feel comfortable enough to connect and to have an even playing field to
Mhm.
accomplish the goals?
This is something we were talking about before the call, being able to be vulnerable
Oh,
and to let people know that the young woman that you're working with, she's, first of all, very lucky that she has you. And I'm really happy to hear that. To be able to know that people often feel so alone, that there's something wrong with them, that they're the only one going through these experiences, whereas we've all gone through these experiences in one way or another. And to have that vulnerability, and there's a limit to sharing, of course. You don't want to, there's boundaries to be had as well. But at the same time, to be able to share what we've gone through in a way that's appropriate and to really encourage those folks that they're not alone, they're not weird. We're all weird. There is no really such thing as normal. And I find that really helps people to be able to get in touch to what that really is, because what that really is underneath, you said it before, it's like there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of fear, and there's so much pressure from every parts of our lives, especially as teens. You have body image issues. You have to be good enough. You have to be smart enough. You have to be all these things that we hear day in and day out. And social media, with everything else, pros and cons, but now it's constant.
yeah.
It is constant. It's not just magazines anymore. So to be able to really shine a light and get a zoomed out view, come at it from a 10,000-foot perspective kind of thing, I find that those folks can shift that perspective a little bit. And it's like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is why. And this might bring up some other stuff that goes far deeper than a tryout. And then introduce those tools to be able to navigate those waters a little bit and really come into that sense of self. We are such a society that is all about outsourcing and outsourcing every single part of our lives. And I think part of our work and our hope for humanity is to really encourage that insourcing, that we are more powerful and strong and kind and generous and compassionate than we give ourselves credit for. And to be able to get through all that noise and all that pressure to really come back to that self. We can talk about this really all day.
Yeah, for sure. And I
Yeah.
think there's some tips and advice that later on I'd love for you to tap into that kind of gets you into that alignment to be able to face some of those insecurities head on and to truly
Mm.
become the best version of yourself. But what I think is really neat between you and I, Amy, is we have a lot of cross correlation with our journeys. Yes, we've been athletes, but we've also been immersed in the work world. I
Mm.
made a shift about 9, 10 years ago to get into technology sales and with a wife and 3 kids, I felt that was gonna
Mm.
be a good way for me to maximize my time as a family guy, and I put the coaching full time on the back burner, and now I'm tapping into it part-time. But I think it would be really important for you to talk about some of the things that you've seen in athletes or teammates or people that you've mentored, and cross-reference that with the work world, because it is very similar. And I oftentimes see athletes really struggle in some of those environments because it is a little bit of a different playing field. But I know that you've seen a lot of situations with harassment or toxic culture. And I think it would be important for the listeners to understand where your expertise is there and maybe some advice that you have for athletes that are looking to get into the work world.
That's a good question. And you're right. Like, coming from in a sports environment, you have the same goal. And so to extrapolate that into the work world, you would assume that you would have the same goals as well, but not necessarily the same way of going about those goals. And it's depending on what that environment is, it's definitely eat or be eaten as opposed to a sense of community and striving together, which I think is a huge transition for a lot of folks. And similarly, also depending on the team and the company and the environment, you also have some of the same toxic cultures and subcultures that exist.
Mm,
And again, the importance of self, because you are going to question yourself. You're going to think that you're the crazy one, that you're being gaslighted without even knowing that you're being gaslighted, kind of thing. And one thing that I find very encouraging is that more people are finding their voice in order to speak up, not just women, men and boys, and however you identify as well. And I think that collective finding of that voice makes a big difference, because then people also who are engaged in that toxic culture, they also feel shame. They are the way they are for a reason. And that doesn't give them a pass, but hopefully we can present things in a way that makes them examine some of their choices and to really drill down into why we as a species act and behave the way that we do. And so my advice to athletes going into a corporate world, a lot of the same principles apply. Find your helpers
yeah.
for sure. Always keep your helpers around you. And a lot of folks will say, I don't have helpers. And I'm like, put it out there. Your helpers will find you. You will find your helpers, and they might be in a form that you might not recognize right away. For sure. But to always really have that strength of self and to be able to go into those practices, those tools, it's a practice like a practicing football or tennis,
Yeah.
right? To build that resilience and to have that, to know without a doubt that you have everything that you need inside of you. You have every single thing that you need inside of you,
Mm.
despite the noise, despite all the stuff that's coming at us. And you'll be okay. You will be okay.
I often say on the BTB project that impossible is nothing. I
That's
really
right.
believe that you have unlocked the true meaning of that through each and every one of us. It's belief. It takes the same energy to tap into a limiting belief as it does something
Abs-
that as a risk taking moment that could provide an extraordinary journey or trajectory for us. And I want to bridge the two together between a work culture or an athletic team culture, because here's the plain and simple truth is I remember the first inside sales job that I had was basically like the front line of defense. I was the guy that was
mm,
taking inbound calls, I was making outbound calls, and it was that 120 to 150 dials a day. And you just wanted to get people to say yes to purchase a product, right? And it was one of the most fascinating experiences that I had, because on the sales floor, the ongoing joke would be someone had brought a blood pressure monitor, but literally one that you put around your arm, and it reads basically your blood pressure.
Mm. Wow.
You get into a situation where you're doing your job, but the underlying attitude is this job is so stressful that we're going to see who can get the highest blood pressure.
Crazy.
And at one point, there was somebody that actually went into cardiac arrest
Oh my.
on the sales floor, but it was embraced. It was an ongoing joke that was embraced. Going to the athletic team part and what I've seen as a coach, what seems to be embraced by a lot of athletes is the not being good enough, the
Mhm.
frustration, maybe even on the other end, like the ego, like the cocky type of ego, supporting a teammate, using that energy to lift someone up rather than bring them
Mhm.
down. So, in your opinion, why are we missing the mark so much as human beings on what it truly takes to support one another? And why is it often criticized to go after our goals and dreams?
Wow, that's excellent. That's a crazy culture of celebrating a cardiac arrest. That's just insane. And wow. But you're asking a fundamental question of basically why are we humans the way that we are?
Yep.
And that's not a simple answer. And I think that is a long answer that can go back into thousands of years in a sense of controlling other people, exploiting other people, the power over other people, regardless of what that is. I think we have an innate, whatever it is you want to call it, inside of us as human species. And I feel like we're shifting into a different kind of Renaissance era when it comes to a more, I don't like to use the word enlightened, but for lack of a better word, a more enlightened awareness of what could be.
Right.
And you said something earlier about life that reminded me of it. It takes more strength to be that light than it does to be that darkness because we're such surrounded, like your toxic work culture that you're talking about. You're surrounded in an environment that celebrates that darkness. And these are, our language is very limiting. So I use these words with a grain of salt because they have so much implication behind them. And so, like, you go back those thousands of years, and then you come into basically the 21st, 20th, and 21st century, where that is being exploited for money.
Yeah.
And so you go from just power and control to like this insane amount of money. And you can't have these insane amount of money in it without toxic capitalism. And there's not any right way. There's not a right platform or a right ism or whatever that corporate thing is that you want to say. There's something that we used to teach before we started selling our products, and we would do these workshops. But it would be to examine your BS and like your belief systems. It's like you believe something, why do you believe it? And it's really drilling down into the why. And oftentimes, if not all times, has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
It's coming from all these factors: our family of origin, our country, our culture, our consumerism, our religion, our politics, whatever it is. But it's like you start to think about what's really mine and what's really my belief and why. And it's a really interesting exercise to explore. And so when you're talking about like how do we change humanity basically to be able to offer something different, it's like, why don't we try this path? This path that we've been on since, I don't know, we crawled out of the ocean, I'm not sure,
Right.
hasn't worked for us right yet. So why don't we try something different? And I love that Einstein quote. It's like you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it.
Yeah.
We need to be able to embrace something different that works for all of us,
Right.
not just one of us. And it's like this sense of individualism is really killing us, and you take that individualism, whether it's me as a person, that I need to be better than you are,
Yep.
or we as, I don't know, the purple group or the pink group or the red group or the whatever group. It's like, that's an individual too. And to release that dogma And if you start to drill down into those belief systems, it's like we need to ditch that dogma and find that none of us heal until all of us heal. And there's so many variations on that quote to Gandhi and to Dr. King. And I was just recently listening to Pema Chodron that she iterated that.
Yeah.
And it's just, for me, like presenting that past that you can be something different, that you can heal, that you can walk in a space of light, that you can go after your goals and your objectives and not be shamed for it. And if you do get shamed for it, heck with them. Stand in your own light, because there's those of us out there that will support you and be your cheerleaders and say, you go, you be you. And to be able to create this world of collected individuals, it's not saying to lose your individuality,
Right.
but to be individuals in this community. And that diversity and those gifts are beautiful. And we need to start seeing it like that, in my opinion. I might not be the greatest at X, but I'm really good at this. That doesn't mean one's better than the other. It truly takes a village.
Yeah. And loaded question, but I knew exactly how you were going to respond because this is such a progressional path. It's not a
It
one
is.
shot answer and everything's fixed in humanity.
Right.
I recently did a podcast on a BTB short about the importance of gratitude.
Mm.
I sometimes see a lot of people that I'm trying to help, or even someone like myself, where as the noise gets really loud, are you still practicing gratitude? Because gratitude is the killer to
Yeah.
insecurity and self doubt. It still makes you have to face it,
Yeah.
but facing it with a complete equal of gratitude makes whatever you're trying to focus on not as important.
Mhm.
And being able to have that type of smaller practices, tapping into it each and every day, making it more incremental, the path that
Mhm.
you're talking about. Now the path looks like a nice sidewalk outside that you can walk on rather than a highway with 940,000 cars coming your direction.
Yeah.
It's very simple to understand that everything that is tapping into self-worth, your development, enlightenment, alignment, all sorts of words out there to describe it, is truly just about trying to get 1% better
Yeah.
each and every day. And I do want to talk about your business. I am very intrigued by earth and air creations concept and really trying to instill calming rituals into your days. Being a husband and a father of three, I find myself often needing to find ways to decompress,
Yeah.
whether it's to go on a walk or throw on a podcast and go on a jog. I've done it through my fitness, but when it comes to some of the things that you're doing to help instill enlightenment into life, tell me what's going on with the business.
Yeah. It was born out of the pandemic, really. And so prior to that, my other co-founder and I, we were doing workshops that I just alluded to about the BS stuff and the belief systems and mitigating a lot of the stuff that's out there. And so we made that pivot, and then we found ourselves spending a lot more time surrounded in nature.
Yeah.
And so, like, the folks that we've been working with both at together as a company and individually through our other work and projects, is like that profound disconnection of people with nature, with other people, with themselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, from seeing that, hearing that, feeling that, working with that, we were inspired to start creating with what was around us. And I kicked off a couple different meditation circles that it's still ongoing today for people to have that space, really.
Mm.
And then it was really something that for both of us, I am a very visual, tactile person, and I'm a terrible auditory learner. Yeah. So for me, like with, and you know how our culture is like, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. And if you're not doing things this way, then it won't work for you, kind of thing. It's like, I'm definitely not that person. I'm definitely live in the world of gray. And so, like, our first product was originally called breathing beads. Now they're called meditation beads, but I think we're going to start calling them buddy beads because they've taken on a life of their own. And so I'm using the beads as an example, but to really have something tactile to use in his practices are wood products. I'm here in Northwest Connecticut, and on this land are a lot of fallen trees. And
Okay.
so we started using those fallen trees to make things for the fun of it for us. And so we hand make stuff that we collect. Our flagship product right now is our nature altar that people put on wherever they want to see it. So to write a an affirmation or an intention on a card and put it where you can see it throughout the day. Another tool that actually Pema was talking about in the one podcast, it's like
Yeah.
setting an intention a day, but also setting reminders every hour. It's like, that's me. It's like circle back for me to see that intention, that affirmation. And then at the beginning and the end of the day with that gratitude practice that you were referring to, it's a game changer
Yeah.
because it helps you really shift that perspective. And so that was like how it all came to be. And then it took off from there in a way that people really connected with that energy of the products. So we make everything ourselves to encourage those rituals, to build that resilience to help you through that day. So whether it's for with our beads that I carry with me all the time,
Uh,
and so it's like either as a breathing practice or if I go into meditation, it really helps me to feel and to have that kind of sense. And then the feedback that we've gotten so many ideas from people's experiences, which really, it just really touches me. Hence the renaming of the beads, because people have been telling me the feedback of like taking them into their chemo treatments and
uh,
using them in a classroom for kids that have sensory issues
uh,
or challenges and with being on different parts of the spectrum. It's like having, and it chokes me up every time
yeah, for
to
sure.
hear about how something that we intend to take off a completely different form. And it just, oh my goodness, it just gives me so much joy to get that feedback, and that fuels the passion to make that connection with people, because it's not just about selling a product, it's an embodied energy and to be an invitation to connect with us and others in the community. And so being on this platform, for example, it's like I know that you encourage this as well, is the sense of community,
Yeah.
that we're not alone, that I am you and you are one, and we can be reminded of that, with our rituals. And you as a father and a husband in your busy day, your sense of self-care, and also to remember to like take those pauses, that like having something like this in my pocket reminds me to take those pauses. And yeah, it's just such a sense of building of that self.
Yeah. Being able to tap into the why,
Yeah.
knowing that in nature, Connecticut, there's some trees that have fallen over where here you are birthing into something that is beautiful. Out here in Colorado, we had a lot of forest fires as of recently up the mountains, and also too this beetle kill problem where
Mhm.
beetles will go into the trees and kill the tree. And there's been a lot of beautiful pieces of furniture that I've seen coming from beetle kill
Mhm.
trees. The BTB project. My nickname growing up was Big Teddy Bear, and
Aw.
hated being
See
called
that?
Big Teddy Bear, right? So I took that acronym, and after I graduated high school and did my thing, losing 110 pounds and playing college tennis,
Mhm.
I decided to reframe it into BTB. What are you built to be? What are you built to become? And it's very similar to the
Mhm.
beads that you hold in your hand, because when you have a well established why, it
Mhm.
can overcome any how.
Absolutely.
And that person going in for the cancer treatment or that kid on the spectrum, um, that's why we're here. And I think
Absolutely.
what's so beautiful about that mission is I think you probably get just some testimonials to where maybe when you were looking at starting this during COVID, there was so much uncertainty and Everyone was scratching their heads in that moment, but here you are starting a business. I'd love for you to share being an entrepreneur, being a business owner. What was it like in the beginning coming up with this idea? And maybe what is it like now getting some of the testimonials that you get because of this idea during uncertain
Mhm.
times?
It's interesting. It's like we didn't go looking for the idea found us. It was inspiration, and it wasn't like we were sitting around. It's like, what should we do? It was that feedback from our community and the need from our community, and being in the surroundings that we were at that time and still are, it presented itself to us. I know that sounds hokey a little bit, but that's really how it came up. That passion, those original few products that we had were meant to be that bridge between that isolation and that connection. In addition to the meditation circles that we were holding and still continue to. And so as a really tactile reminder, it's like a hand holding almost with those products. It's like to remind yourselves from then and now that you're not alone. There are people out there like you and like us and so many other members of our community that do care, that do want to see you succeed in whatever is the form that means to you, not what society or anyone else is saying to you, but what that means for you. And then you fast forward to now, as I said, it's like it's taken a life of its own that just really gives me such a deep sense of gratitude that we've been able to do something that helps people and to have that reminder of that connection in that community and encourage people to find themselves a little bit and be in nature, whatever that looks like. If it's in a park in the city, to sit there and just be, or in your apartment or house or wherever you are, to have that little item and to feel that connection and know that you're not alone.
Just the beauty behind that, how things typically end up coming about in our lives. The most fruitful ones is not when you have this giant whiteboard and you write out this
Totally.
formalic equation of exactly how you're going to be able to build a business. It's facing some adversity in COVID and finding something that helped you as an individual and saying,
Hmm.
like, hey, I'm going to spread the love here. I'm going to see if it can
Hmm.
help some other people. BTB project, I got laid off from a job November of 22. January of 23, I start my first podcast after thinking about it for 13 years.
Oh, wow.
So tying it back to limiting beliefs, insecurity, things that, and I thought about this and I want to get your 2 cents is it's almost impossible to eliminate self-doubt and limiting beliefs. But if you think of it like a volume switch, you have noises in your head. And I think you really have two types
Hmm.
of noises. You have negative noises, you have positive noises, but we control the volume.
Yep.
What if we turn down the negative and increase the positive? And with that said, I want to hear some 101 practices. Let's use meditation. If you had to give a suggestion to the listeners when it comes to introduction to meditation, why it's impactful to you and how it could help others, I'd love to hear some practices to help turn up the volume of positivity.
Beautiful. I love that visualization. And absolutely. I would say for me, I think it's similar story to others. It's like meditation has been a game changer. And to be able to find and implement some of those things that work for me. And I think that's the distinction to be made, is that there is no right way. And to really come back to whatever practice speaks to you. So being able to sit for 20 minutes in stillness, that's great. And I think that is something to aspire to if you're starting out or not starting out, wherever. But you think about when we're children, that before that we know what we're supposed to do, quote unquote, or not supposed to do. I remember sitting on the stairs, like the front porch, there was like a stoop kind of thing that went out to the sidewalk, and just looking at the sky, watching the clouds, listening to the birds, and noticing the smell in the air, and the breeze on my skin, that's a mindfulness practice. That's a sensory mindfulness practice. We didn't call it that then. We were just simply being as children.
Mm.
And so, now like meditation for me is more of a reawakening of what is innately us. And so in that essence. And so specific practices, there's so many. There's walking meditations, there's visualization, there's sitting in silence, and they're all good. Whatever speaks to you. And that's the stigma or I don't know, the hesitation to start something like that.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know how to do it. Am I doing it right? And like you said, you're always going to have those voices, but allow those voices. If you're sitting in meditation and you start going on the grocery list or
Yeah.
whatever you have to do, just acknowledge it. It's like, okay, I have the grocery list. I'm going to come back to my breath now, and we're going to just keep going, allowing that. And so for me, like doing the meditation practices, I do different ones because I get bored. That's just,
Yeah.
I'm human. So whether it's a walking meditation or listening to a visualization that I really like, or just sitting outside on a rock and being with the trees and to like really notice, like, what do I smell? What do I feel? What do I hear right now? That just being in the here and now and having that sense of oneness in that space at that moment. And so it's really being about presence and being in that present moment in whatever that modality that works for you. Tapping is amazing.
Yes.
I love tapping. I love all these things, really. And it's just, I like to mix it up. It's like you don't do the same drills every day. You do different drills. You don't do leg day every day.
There's a lot of people out there that do arm day every day and not leg.
Yeah, that's right. We all do stress day every day, mitigating the parts of that stress. And I often find that we don't play enough either. That sense of fun and joy and lightness and that playfulness that we at once were really connected with, bring that into it. It doesn't need to be stuffy and serious. It can be playful and joyful. And it's like, oh, here I am now. It's like, whatever that looks like. And to have fun with it in that practice. I'm a big fan of writing affirmations and saying them to myself in the mirror.
Yes.
Also hokey, I know it sounds. That's also getting to really know yourself.
Yeah.
You look at yourself in the mirror, you will see and feel something very different than what is preconceived. You do that as a practice with the affirmations, your intention for the day, setting that guidepost of what you want that day to look like, and then coming back to it, whether it needed to be hourly or not. And the gratitude, wow. I'm so happy that you brought that up because that really puts everything into perspective. And even if you don't feel like you don't have anything to be thankful for, you can start with your breath.
Yeah.
You can start with any little thing, your pet, whatever. The fact that you're warm right now, or I have clean water to drink. There's always something to have as that practice. And so there's lots of different fun things to experiment with and play with. And forget the dogma of it all. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're human. Allow it.
The passion behind those words and advice on really making a meditative practice simple. That's my
Mhm.
takeaway from what you just said. Whether it's a kid in a classroom thinking about a math test and he still hasn't done the study guide and the homework and the prep for the test, he's just thinking about that test. You're jumping too far ahead. These types of
Mm,
practices, you can do it in just a few seconds, saying some
mhm.
affirmations in the mirror, or you can get into working up into a 20-minute
That's right.
still practice. And I think that's just so well said. And with that said, Amy, I am going to ask for some advice. Here I am as a dad of two daughters, and they're 9 and 12,
Mm,
and both in their respective sports, ballet, tennis, and active in school and activities and all that. But my goal as a dad, Amy, is I want to develop strong women that will impact this world.
mm,
You are a strong woman impacting this world. And I would love for you to share, Amy, when it comes to your journey and where you've been to where you are now, What are some things that you would like to share to the younger generation that would allow them to see things a little different than how they do now? And maybe just some kind of words of wisdom to help them on their journey.
First of all, go girl dad. That's awesome. I'm really glad that they have you, Coleman. They're very lucky, and I'm sure you're lucky as well. And I
My
think
son gets a little annoyed with his sisters sometimes, but
yeah,
I'm probably a girl dad at heart. You're right.
that's not to exclude you being a boy dad. You're just dad.
That's right.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I think, oh, there's so many things to that. I think that really strong sense of self and that trust, and to trust themselves, and to really get in touch with that notion of intuition, another word that, for lack of better words, but it is true to get in touch with that intuition. It's not getting in touch with, we all have it, but to really trust that voice. So, like 9 and 12, and going through the journey of life as women, the reality is they're going to be faced with some things that are inappropriate and toxic and harass, and your son too.
Yeah.
It's not just the girls, but to really trust themselves, like their true selves with the capital S, of that no matter what people are telling you, you know what's true and you know what's right and what feels good and what doesn't. And if it's something that they come across, you're the helper, you're one of the helpers. And they're cultivating that community of the energy that they want to be around, just like all of us. It's like, so to be able to be nurtured in a way that is allows them to grow without being impeded.
Mm,
And something I also wanted to add about those practices is that breath work, coming back to the breath, every single one of those modalities starts with the breath. And to be able to come into that math test and get all worked up and then, like, okay, let's come back to our breath. Let's just start taking some deep breaths, making a plan from there. And it's the same with navigating life, really, coming back to the breath, that sense of self, that trust, that helper, that community. This will help carry you forward. And it's not going to be easy, and it doesn't have to be hard. I know that's very contradictory, but to have that honesty of not in a doom saying sort of way, but say, hey, some people are in different paths on their journey, and that might impact you in a way that you may not like. And create those healthy boundaries, those very strong boundaries when need be, but know that you are the one, that you are everything that you need. And you have your community around you that you can tap into, because we're not meant to do any of this alone, regardless of our gender or color of our skin. We
right.
are not meant to do this alone. We are a pack animal.
That's right.
We have this sense of you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. We need to let that go.
No.
We need to help each other, and in a way that we want to see this world be the way that we want to live in it.
Yeah, I find it not coincidental that this conversation started by talking about our true strength is in our vulnerability, and it ends with vulnerability being our true
Mhm.
strength. And
Yeah.
I think that Amy, you have been a tremendous impact on a lot of people, more than I will ever imagine. And I just would love for you to share with the listeners how they can find you. I'd love for you to share maybe just a little bit about your role with Evo Sports Collective and maybe some socials or whatever you have so that they can find your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Coleman. Thank you for this platform and being the light that you are in the world. Together we can do amazing things, and we already are. Thank you. And yeah, with Evo, it's been so wonderful to be in this space. I'm not really big on titles, and I have a hard time writing biographies. But I think it's like director of expansion and inclusion. And the important part of that word to me is expansion. The expansion of each person's heart and soul and consciousness. Once that happens, there's no need for inclusion, because then we're all included, if that makes sense.
Well, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Yes.
And so when I met Jennifer, we were a part of a conscious business collective several years ago, and we've done many projects together. when she invited me to be a part and explain the intersection of sports energy and consciousness. I'm like, where have you been all my life? So it's been truly an honor to be a part of Evo and learn so much from the founders and the leadership team and the people that come on to the Master Series call. It's like I am eternally grateful to have been invited into this space to be able to combine my passion as an athlete with all the other stuff that I do and all the other hats that I wear. It's been really such a incredible journey, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it expand as well. And
Yeah.
some of the projects that we do in the social justice space, as I mentioned to you before the call, like Jennifer and I are going to be in New York. And the reason why we're there is we're part of a UN group on the Council of Status of Women that we're partnering with Athletes United for Peace and the H Plus Project that I could talk about later with you some more. But these are the types of things that really light us up because then we're helping other people elevate their voice and impact as a result. Yeah, we have so many things that are on the docket that I'm really super excited for. Is in terms of finding me, you can find me at amy@earthandaircreations.com, www.earthandaircreations.com, Instagram at Earth and Air Creations. I can also send you a link to one of the meditation circles if your community would like to join us anytime.
Would love it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely all
Yeah.
the links to your socials, I'll include in the
Yep.
cast notes. So I appreciate
Okay.
it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll create a code for any listeners who might want to visit our shop as well and want some information or advice or whatever. Please reach out. I love talking to people and making those connections.
Amy Smith, unbelievable journey that you've been on. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the movement that, taking the positive volume and turning it up, right? As simple as that. But with that said, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today on the BTB project.
No, it's been an honor, Kollman, and thank you for all that you do. And I'm so excited to work together in the future and see you on the Master Series called.
Yes. Let's do this. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kollman.
What a tremendous conversation with Amy Smith and uncovering practical tips to use meditation to overcome some of the most difficult circumstances that we face in our lives. My biggest takeaway was the simplicity of meditative practices. Sometimes when I've looked at it in the past, I see it that's something that's daunting. It's hard to sit still for 30 minutes and be in a quiet place. But Amy unpacks and uncovers easy, simplistic, tangible ways to tap into meditation. As easy as walking in a park or focusing on breath work or tapping into her creative element of her business to be able to find ways to be creative and curious when it comes to stillness in our lives. As the listener, it's important to find ways to maintain alignment. And Amy just did a tremendous job of showing us clear, concise, practical ways to tap into it. Listen. If Amy's story was something that resonated with you, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the BTB project. Better yet, send this message to a family member, friend, or colleague and tell them why the episode impacted you. It's individuals like Amy and the movement of Evo Sports Collective that allow each and every one of us to maximize our potential, become the strongest version of ourselves, and to truly embrace that impossible is nothing. As always, I'm proud of each and every one of you. And until next time, take care.